Welcome to a new video. Today we're going to step back in time to 2005 and see who was each Premier League side's best player. Obviously this is a subjective thing and it's definitely only my opinion. If you disagree, feel free to say who you would have put instead in the comments section below. Without further ado though, let's begin. We're starting out in northwest England with Wigan Athletic. Leighton Baines spent 5 years with the club, making 162 appearances. He eventually moved on to Everton in 2007. One of the few players I imagine who's played for Chelsea, Arsenal and Liverpool. In 2005, he lined up at West Ham United. During his first spell with the club, he finished as an FA Cup runner-up, losing out in the final to a Steven Gerrard-inspired Liverpool. For West Brom, I went with Zoltan Gera. I feel like there were some seasons he played for them when he was literally like a one-man goal machine. With the Midlands club, he helped restore their Premier League status in 2008 when they won the Championship. Currently, he's the Hungarian under-21 coach. This was quite a tricky one. I went with Jermaine Defoe, but Robbie Keane and Michael Carrick could easily have been chosen. During his first spell with Spurs, he scored 64 goals in 176 games, before moving on to Portsmouth. He retired from football in 2022. Matty Taylor. He spent 6 years on the south coast with Portsmouth, during his time there winning an FA Cup. I'll always remember his time there for marauding up and down the left wing, and what a shot from range he had. Eventually fell out of favour at the club though, and moved to Bolton Wanderers. Since his retirement, he's managed Walsall in League One. This might be a controversial one too. Alan Shearer was in his final season at the club, so it easily could have been him. I just think Shay Given at 29 was a great keeper. Spent 12 seasons on Tyneside playing 462 matches. The only honour he won at Newcastle though was an Intertoto Cup. Next I've gone with Gaizka Mendieta. The Spanish midfielder spent 4 seasons with Middlesbrough, helping them win a League Cup in 2004. He was also a UEFA Cup runner-up with the club, losing out to Sevilla 4-0 in the 2006 final. For Man United, there was a lot of choice, but I've gone with Wayne Rooney. For me at this age, he was just unplayable. He'd spent most of his career with the team, eventually leaving as their record goal scorer with 253 goals in 559 matches. Manchester City before the money was a very different team. I've gone with Richard Dunn as their best player, but equally it could have been Sylvain Distin or maybe a few others. During Dunn's time at the club, he made 352 appearances. He also helped restore the club's Premier League status in 2002 after they were relegated. For Liverpool, I've gone with Xabi Alonso. It could have been Steven Gerrard, he was great too. I'm going to go for Alonso though, on the basis of the lift he gave them on his arrival. In the 05-06 Champions League winning season, he played 53 games and was an integral part of their success. He left Liverpool in 2009 to join Real Madrid. Next up we have Fulham, and I've gone with Steve Malbranque. For me, I thought he was a particularly elegant player, great on the ball and a great passer too. During his time with Fulham, he scored 32 goals in the Premier League in 5 seasons. Not a bad return from midfield. I was surprised to find out whilst researching this video, he actually only retired in 2022. A far more fond era for Everton fans, I imagine, than what's been happening recently at the club. I've gone with Tim Cahill. During his time at Everton, he scored 56 goals in 226 games. And in his celebrations, shadow-boxed a whole lot of corner flags. He left the club in 2012. My choice may be controversial here, but I've gone with Drogba. Obviously, it could have been Terry or Lampard, or half their squad for that matter. I've chosen Drogba, though, on the basis that in their first 2 Premier League winning seasons, he contributed 22 goals. He was a thorn in the side of defenders and would dominate the league for the coming decade. Travelling across to southeast London, at Charlton I've gone for Matt Holland. He might be the most insufferable commentator on TV in the USA, but as a player he was decent. He joined Charlton in 2003 from Ipswich Town. I think this should be quite unanimous. JJ Okocha, the 7-time Nigerian Footballer of the Year, played for Bolton in 2005. During his time there he scored 14 Premier League goals in 124 games, and also exhibited some of the best skills in Premier League history. Moving across Lancashire to Blackburn Rovers, I've gone with Craig Bellamy. He'd only spent 1 year at the club, but you could argue it was the best of his career. He finished it with 17 goals in 32 games. For Birmingham City, I've gone with David Dunn. Unfortunately for him, his time there was quite injury-ravaged, but when he played, he was a good midfielder. He ended up returning to Blackburn Rovers in 2007, where he would spend the next 9 seasons. Crossing England's second city to Aston Villa, I've chosen Olaf Melberg. Easily could have gone with Gareth Barry, Juan Pablo Angel or Martin Laursen though. For me, Melberg edges it, as he was a stalwart in their defence for such a long time. He joined in 2001 from Racing Santander. He'd spend 7 years in the West Midlands before moving on to Juventus. For Arsenal, I think it has to be Thierry Henry, the record holder for most Premier League golden boots with 4, joint record holder for most assists in a season with 20, and the most goals scored under one Premier League manager with 175. His trophy cabinet isn't too shabby either. Last but not least, it's Sunderland. This was a slightly tricky one, but I've gone with Stephen Elliott. His 15 championship goals in 04-05 helped propel the team to the Premier League. He would leave, though, in 2007 to join Wolves. So, that's my top players from each Premier League team in the 05-06 season. Let me know below who you agree or disagree on, and who you would have selected instead. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video.